Welcome to Reverent and Rebellious, a safe space for faith-based conversations on the things that nobody seems to want to talk about these days. We are reverent, we value truth, we elevate scripture, but we are also rebellious. We shatter myths and we destroy dogma, so jump in. Join us, Logan, Pat, and me, the brother Peter, as we get reverent and we get rebellious.
What's up, everybody?
What's going on?
There is a lot going on. There's a whole lot going on. My baseball team is ahead right now.
Uh-oh.
That's good. We'll see how it all works out. But I'm liking my baseball team lately.
There you
That's a good thing. And
At least publicly.
yeah. And it's warm enough to wear shorts. I know you can't tell that I have shorts on, but I do.
Yep.
And I feel good about that. Yeah. What else is going on, Pat? What have you been into? You've been building stuff.
Man, my wife loves her projects. And we just got the pool fixed up and the deck. And so she wanted me to hang these curtains and lights. And she got all this new furniture I had to build and all that good jazz. But it's looking good. I can't be too mad. Like it looks great. My back doesn't like it. But it's looking good. We're going to enjoy it this summer.
There you go.
Yep. We've been into birds.
Birds?
Yeah.
Like bird watching?
Well, we kind of set up our tiny little backyard to attract birds.
Yeah.
And I got a bird feeder with a Ring camera in it.
Oh,
Okay.
really? So you can see them as they're like eating right there?
Yeah. You can see what kind of birds are coming up, and it comes to your phone.
I'll have to invite you guys over for dinner one night. We've been sitting on our back deck, and there's this jackrabbit that lives in the thicket behind our house, and he literally makes laps.
I love it.
He'll come out of the thicket and he'll do a lap, and so often,
Nice.
And so that's what we've been kind of
Watching your jackrabbit.
Yep.
Well, there's something I've heard about, you're old when you bird
That's
watch.
it. That's exactly right. That's how you know you're getting there.
I mean,
What-
isn't it the older you get, the more stuff you watch? Like
Yeah.
you go to Walmart, tell me you don't people watch at Walmart.
My dad keeps binoculars in the kitchen, and it's for him to look at birds. And he has bird feeders out. And one year we all bought him like a book on birds so that he would know what they are.
Well, they have this app on your phone now that will listen and identify the sounds of birds.
Oh man, I need that because we have a weird animal out here that I don't know what it is.
Get that app, and it'll tell you what kind of birds they are.
Does it do the mating call?
Probably. Yeah. Oh wait, I'm getting a notification.
The American Idiot. I think is what it says.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's good.
And I go down to the pond, next to the church there, and
Opal chases them.
she actually is not too interested anymore.
Really?
Yes, we got a
Well,
couple
she's
of
getting old.
Yeah.
got a couple of geese down there, and we got a couple of blue herons down there, and a family of cardinals, and little wood ducks and things like that. I love them.
That's great.
I'm settled with the fact that I'm old enough now to enjoy birds. Yeah, I just am. So
Hey, well, everybody needs a hobby.
All animal life is fascinating to me, but I just love the birds.
Yeah.
They just and I found this one yesterday. It's black, but it's not a blackbird. It has a little reddish brownish dusting on its head.
What is it?
It's like it has the word barn in it. Barn.
It's not a barn swallow, is it?
It might be. It might be. But it's got a cool little,
Kind of like a little hairdo.
Yeah, I'm a blackbird, but I got some red on me.
Yeah, I'll have to have you guys over. We can do some shooting, watch some wildlife, let the kids get in the pool.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll do our thing.
Yeah, that'd be good. You can come over to my backyard.
I want a falcon.
Oh man,
How cool would that be to have a falcon? And because you can send it out.
You'd be like on King of the Hill. It just attacks Bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all need to comment to us. Here's what we need y'all to do. First, I need you to hit that like button.
Yes.
Hit subscribe. Need you to leave us a rating and review. If you don't do that, then I'm going to get this falcon that I'm going to soon get, and I'm going to sick this falcon upon you.
Yeah.
I've talked about training killer bees. Instead, I'm going to go with the route of falcons.
What
do they call them? A falconry or
falconry? Yeah.
falconry?
Yeah.
So you need to do that. Comment below. What is your bird of choice? If you needed a bird that would they could just stay with you all the time. What would the bird be that would stay with you?
Well, we had 3 comments this week. Amber says, "Wow, 81 podcast.
Man,
Great job, guys." Julie says, "All 81 podcasts have been 5-star. Speaking of Sunday sermons, Peter and Jesus blew it out of the park. And sounds like today's podcast is too. Putting my steel toe shoes on. I guess we're stepping on our toes." And then Rhonda says, "In order to read Revelation, I have to take my mind off chronological mode and set it to 3-ring circus mode."
3-ring circus. Yes, that is exactly
nailed
right.
it. That is exactly right.
Those are 3 MVPs too. They're all consistent,
always there.
consistent commenters. Appreciate that.
They are rabid fans, they call them.
Yes, we'll give y'all 5 stars.
That's right.
Heck yeah, absolutely.
Julie's my people too, man.
Oh,
I love Julie.
She's a trip. Yes, she is.
She brings me joy.
If you're ever feeling down about yourself, just go see Julie, and she will pump you back up again.
Yep.
It's
Julie's fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, let me find this here. Yeah. An Englishman, a Scotsman, an Irishman, a Welshman, a Latvian, a Turk, an Aussie, a German, an American, an Egyptian, a Japanese, a Mexican, a Spaniard, a Russian, a Pole, a Lithuanian, a Swede, a Finn, an Israeli, a Romanian, a Bulgarian, a Serb, a Swiss, a Greek, a Singaporean, an Italian, a Norwegian, and a South African went to a nightclub. The bouncer says, "Sorry, I can't let you in without a tie."
Got it.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, that's one that finally didn't go over my head.
Yes, I did get that one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, a tie.
A tie. It's my tie. So there you
Muay
go.
Thai.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So here we are.
Revelation 21.
We're the next to the last episode of
We
this whole
just
darn
about
thing.
have put the I don't know, the pin on the donkey, the tail on the donkey
That's
here.
it. They put the capper on it.
Yep.
Just about. And this is a wild chapter because this is kind of the chapter where the literalists kind of get really over the top on this.
Yeah.
I have actually sat and listened to somebody, teaching through Revelation who, we're going to talk about this city, and it outlines the dimensions of the city,
the cube.
Yeah, and he was trying to tell everybody how we were going to fit all of the believers in a 1,500 mile square footage, and it's like he had had it all worked out.
They got bridges.
Sounds like we got to be packed in there though.
Yeah, it was like multi-level, and it's like I don't know if I want to spend eternity in an apartment.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm thinking like Manhattan. It's not even. Was it about the size of Manhattan, or how that?
What if you're in the center, man? Like you don't get an outside apartment.
Yeah, you don't even get. You might not even have a window.
That's right.
Glory to God. Yeah.
Wouldn't have to mow any grass or nothing, I guess.
No, it probably wouldn't. It's a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to be too negative about anything, but it just really isn't coherent. It just does not make sense with the way this whole thing is put together. So, what we're going to see in chapter 21. So you remember the big, huge ordeal that we went through from chapter 16 to 20.
Yeah.
That's kind of all one scene being shown from
Different
all these
views.
different angles. Everything from the on the ground view to the more sort of symbolic view to the cosmic view to all the stuff. It's the day of the Lord, and the day of the Lord is the single biggest event that's talked about in both the Old and the New Testament.
Right.
So why would you not spend 5 chapters talking about the day of the Lord and all of the ripple effects and all of the after effects and all of that, it's a huge thing. The whole universe is being reconfigured at this point.
It's what every living person is looking forward to.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And this is one of the points that he's going to make in here. We'll see this along the way, is that, we've seen the dragon, the beast, the system of Babylon, all the other bad actors have been defeated, have been done away with. The judgment has been finalized with the second death. You remember the great white throne, and then we got those who were being judged on their deeds alone, and they just didn't make it.
And he also covers in this chapter. He also covers just the natural human being, like as far as like sorrow and sadness and pain and all these things.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to see. With the second death, that signaled the end of death forever. There's no more death after that. Nothing is going to die in God's new world.
That's awesome. That means my wife can finally have a garden.
Yes. So we've got all this stuff done. The day of the Lord has happened, and now we get 2 chapters of, we're describing the great revelation of the end.
Yeah.
We've been exposing evil and exposing Babylon and exposing all this, lifting the lid and watching what crawls out. And now everything that's crawled out has, the pure fire of God has destroyed it.
And spoiler alert, what I think is the coolest part of this chapter is the new temple.
Yes, and we're going to talk a lot about that. And so before we actually read parts of it, this is one of the points that he makes is, that this is the reason that we've been faithful. This is what John doesn't want us to miss.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, this is, if you overcome, this is the world that you're going to come out into. So, you're talking.
This is the promise.
Yeah, exactly. If you persevere under persecution and threats of evil and powers of evil, a world that is degrading, a world that is coming apart at the seams, that is chaotic, if you have resisted the urge to compromise so that you can have a little bit of comfort now, he says, if you've gone that far, then this is where you're going to be. This is what's going to happen. And of course, he does this all in very symbolic, very apocalyptic terms. And so I think once we kind of see what it really is, then everybody should be really excited, honestly. But the first thing that I want to just sort of touch on for a minute as we get going is that there is this idea in a lot of prophetic kinds of systems that in order for the end times to come, there has to be another temple built in Israel.
The third temple.
Yeah, so we've got to somehow take over the Temple Mount and evict all of those Muslims and get a physical temple set up. Now, one of the ways that they kind of justify this prophetically is from Ezekiel.
Okay.
The last 8 chapters of Ezekiel. In fact, we're gonna reference it a number of times today. So I'm gonna kind of go back there just for a second. This is part of Ezekiel's great vision.
What chapter?
48?
If you start in chapter 40.
40.
Yeah. It says, in the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, the 10th of the month, 14th year, after the city was taken on that same day, the hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me there. Okay, so he brought me there. There was a man with like the appearance of bronze, a line of flax. He was measuring. We're going to see that in just a second. Now this, touch on it more when we get there, but this idea of measuring, we've seen it in other books of the Bible as well. It is basically, I'm going to measure this to show you how incredible it is.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like almost, sort of surreal, otherworldly, so this is the same kind of image here. And he's talking about, he says, there was a wall on the outside of the temple all around. Man's hand was a measuring rod of 6 cubits, and it goes on and on and on. And he spends the next several chapters talking about this temple. Well, it goes to the inner temple, and it's got pillars, and it's got chambers, and it's got precious stones, and it has cherubs in it. It basically it looks like the Garden of Eden.
Gotcha.
Right.
It's got trees everywhere, fruit everywhere, water everywhere, and then in chapter 43 is a very iconic chapter about in Ezekiel 10, he has the vision of the glory of God leaving the temple. Okay, well in chapter 43 we have a new temple, and now just like God did with the Solomon's temple and with the tabernacle. God enters, the glory of God is everywhere. It's a cloud. Nobody can enter the temple. We saw that in Revelation just a few chapters back. And that is symbolic of God taking up residence in his temple. So the glory of God comes back into the temple, but it's not the old temple because that one's been destroyed. So it's a new temple. And so we got the altar of sacrifice. We got he talks about the gates and the offerings and the ordinances. And he just goes on and on and on about this new temple. And it is quite gripping. Yeah, I mean, it is an amazing.
It's very descriptive.
Yeah, it really is. And so people will say, well, then that's what the new temple in Israel is going to look like.
Yeah.
The only problem is if you reconstruct the way he describes it, you end up with this giant facade. It's like super tall and super narrow, and then you've got these little walls around it.
Yeah.
And that's all you get.
Yeah.
So it clearly is not meant to be taken literally in Ezekiel. He's pointing to something. And I was watching this scholar on this video, and he said basically what he's talking about here is the new heavenly temple, the new heavens and the new earth. The only thing that's missing from his description is the lamb, because he doesn't know about Jesus. I mean, he has no context for that.
Yeah.
And
so
Ezekiel wasn't good at geometry either.
No. But this is not the only place that we see images of a forthcoming temple.
Okay.
A temple in the future. We get Isaiah 2 speaks of the mountain of the Lord. This is honestly one of my favorite chapters in Isaiah. So I'm going to read just a couple of verses. Isaiah 2 says, the word which Isaiah the son of Amoz saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, now it will come about in the last days, the mountain of the house of the Lord will be established as the chief of the mountains and will be raised above the hills, and all the nations will stream to it. And he goes on and on and on. He's talking about a future temple. Jeremiah 7 is going to talk about a future temple. Jeremiah 7, boy, there's a lot of cryptic language in here. Yeah. In fact, Jeremiah 7 is actually famous because this is his temple sermon. And he talks about the temple, in the middle of, speaking words of judgment all over Judah. Anyway, Zechariah 6 speaks of a branch who will come and appear and build a new temple. And so you put all this stuff together and you think, okay, well, yeah, so there's going to be a new temple built. And I mean, there are prophetic systems that literally hang everything on, Jesus not coming back until
a physical temple
is built in Israel, in Jerusalem. And that's just why, I mean, this actually can drive our politics.
Yep.
Because they're going like, okay, let's support Israel. Let's go along with whatever they do, so that we can get this temple built. Because we can't get Jesus to come back until the temple's built. So the day of the Lord all revolves around us.
That's right.
It relies on us.
That's
and if we don't get our act together, then Jesus just will not come back.
That's when Peter says we can hasten the day.
But and we can hasten the day, but not with stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual level.
That's exactly right. It is, following a move of God. That we could certainly hasten the day. We could also slow it down.
That's right.
That's probably what I do more than anything.
Well, but
Logan, it's your fault.
It is.
It's wild though, because we talk about in the last probably 40, 50 years anyway. Spirituality has been at an all-time low. And not just church attendance, but just even those who say they are spiritual or religious at all has plummeted. And I read this article the other day. It was so good because the guy was saying, what have we been doing about that as the church? It was like,
nothing.
No, we've been staying in our lane and flying under the radar and thinking, oh, well, look at us. We're so cool and everything. And we've been playing this sort of, seeker sensitive kind of, very shallow kind of version of church, or stuck in the mud in our ways, a legalistic kind of thing.
Our culture over here, the world culture over there.
And we just have not responded to it in any meaningful way, or certainly not a subversive way.
Right.
And so now, in the last 5 years, There has been an absolute resurgence of spiritual awareness.
It's been a boom.
Mm-hmm. So when we think about hastening the day, it's like, what are we going to do about this? You know, what are we going to wake up and we're going to capitalize on it? Or are we going to allow this spiritual awareness to drift into, Buddhism or something like that? Come on, let's display. Let's be Christians. Yeah, and that kind of thing.
I do wonder though if the lack of anything being done for so long has what's driven people, because everyone has, Scripture says, "Taste and see the Lord is good." Over the last 20, I would say, my lifetime, everyone has tasted and seen what the world is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they're like, yeah, it's fun, it's this, that, and the third, but it ain't real. It's
not fulfilling,
right,
in all the ways that we need to be fulfilled.
Yeah,
that's part of the problem. So that kind of sets the stage then for what's going to happen in chapter 21, because he's going to start talking about, then I saw. So after all this stuff, the lake of fire and all this stuff, then he says, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth.
So this one actually, you could say chronologically.
Well, yeah, this is what happens after the day of the Lord. Yeah. Does it happen in an instant? Maybe. Does it happen over a period of time? Don't know. Doesn't matter. Because here it comes. This is what it is.
I'm about to bump this AC down just a tad. I'm getting a little chilly in here.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Finally, so Logan gets cold.
Maybe shorts are not the best idea tonight. Yeah. So he's going to say, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. Now, this is not at all a new kind of concept. Yeah. He says the first has passed away. So we're going to just read a couple of scriptures here that's going to, it's going to telegraph it to us right away. So you get Isaiah 65:17.
65.
And then I'll give you another Isaiah. So keep your finger in that. Logan, you get Mark 5:18, and I'm going to give you another Mark one after that.
All
right. 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things will not be remembered or come to mind.
Yes. Now read 66:22.
66:22. All right. For just as the new heavens and the new earth, which I make will endure before me, declares the Lord, so your offspring and your name will endure.
Yeah, there you go. Read Mark 5:18. This will be Jesus speaking.
As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed was imploring him.
That's the wrong one.
The company.
13:31. 13:31.
Yeah, that's it.
Not.
13:31.
Yeah, I must have mistyped it. Well,
I was just going with you. I knew it wasn't in red.
Here we go.
Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away.
Yeah. So they're saying, and the
I
other
really
one,
liked that demon in the boat one.
It was pretty good. It's probably, it might be like 15, 18.
I was waiting to see how you were tying that one in.
Nope, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. Yes, technology is a wonderful thing.
Yes,
it helps me. Okay, so we got this new heaven, new earth, and John is telegraphing to us. Now, one other thing that
hold on, I got to add something right after this.
Yeah,
this is the part we've talked about. But of that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, capital S Son, but the Father alone. I had you point that out. That's we've talked about that.
Yeah, but I got a secret revelation, and so I'm going to say, so send me $15,
and I'll tell you.
And I will, I'll divulge the secrets. It's just silly, honestly, the things that we come up with.
Yeah.
Now, what we saw in chapter 20 was almost no reference to the Old Testament. It was just like boom, boom, boom. The devil's captured. He's 1,000 years here, 1,000 years there. He doesn't reference anything in Zechariah or Zephaniah or anything.
Yep.
Very few. Here he just opens the floodgates.
Yeah.
They're way too many to even read, and we're going to be reading a lot of them. But he is. You cannot miss this. That he is telegraphing hard to his readers. This is what I saw, and what I saw wasn't what I've been reading about all my life.
Yeah.
He's not just randomly picking stuff out of thin air. He is describing what he's looking at by referencing what he's been reading his whole life.
Yeah.
And it's like, what will the day of the Lord look like? Well, it will look like that. We finally, that's why it's called a revelation. That's why it's called an apocalypse, because not only will be revealed who the dragon is and who Babylon is, and all this stuff, but now we have this new heaven, new earth that Isaiah spoke about, that Jeremiah spoke about, that it's all over. That Jesus said, heaven and earth are going to pass away.
Yeah,
my word will never pass away. So here we go. Then the next sentence, or the next part of the sentence, says, "And there is no longer any sea." What does he mean by that?
The politics, nations.
Yes. Every time we see the sea, we think of Leviathan. We think about the deep. We think about chaos. We think about anti-creation.
The antichrist of propaganda.
Yes, that's exactly right. So there is no longer any sea. Remember when we were in the throne room, like the second or third time, and there was the glass with fire underneath,
Dead still.
Yeah, and so the chaos is not in the throne room, but underneath the throne room is going nuts.
That's right.
And so it says that won't be there. There just will no longer be any sea. Very interesting kind of a parallel here, though. If we think back to creation, to Genesis 1. What is God? Okay, so it says that the water was covering the earth, right? The earth was without form and void, and the waters covered the earth. Okay, so what did he do at that time with the water?
He separated it from the land.
Exactly. He pushed it back. He did not eliminate it.
That's right.
So through the time of the garden, through the time after the fall, it's like the water was always there and always threatening.
Yeah.
So that could go to talk about who Cain was scared of.
It really could. It really could. But also we see then that when the flood came, God just decreated. He uncreated.
That's right.
He went back to the waters covering the earth.
Let the water have the land.
That's exactly right. And so what he's going to say here is, that there's no longer a possibility of letting the water back over the earth.
Right.
So that means that there, we talk about. We've asked the question a lot. Okay, when the heavens and the earth finally come together in eternity, what's to say that somebody's not going to screw it up again?
Yeah.
I mean,
he addresses it.
If Lucifer can screw it up and screw it up for all of us, if all those Elohim can rebel and rule the nations improperly, and all the humans can fall, what's to say we couldn't just start the whole process all over again? Well, it's because of this. There's no longer any sea.
There's no sea.
Yeah. And we're going to see as we go along too, we talk about the death of death. We talk about, and the fact that everybody's choices have been made and honored at the great white throne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and we're going to see a lot of temple language and garden language in this.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that as we go, because there's a really cool thing in Ezekiel that I'm going to bring out. But no longer any sea. Also, it's like, okay, so how do you, if you have free will, but there's nothing evil to choose? Because you've made a decision. You've made a final choice.
You've overcome.
That you've chosen. They say exactly. You've overcome. So there's nothing evil to choose.
That's right.
You know the knowledge. You have the knowledge of good and evil because you remember what it was like.
But now your choice is God or God.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
I choose God, please.
And so, can you imagine what kind of peace and tranquility?
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Could you imagine? And
no,
like,
I can't.
I don't even have to entertain an evil thought.
In Peter's mind, everybody will be a Mariners fan.
That's exactly right. Yes, absolutely. And there'll be
a lot of people just clicked off the video.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, there is baseball in the Bible. That you realize that.
Yep.
In the beginning.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
You think there'll be baseball in the new earth?
I'm going to play it because I'm going to have a glorified body.
Yeah, until Jesus is pitching.
Throws a mean curveball,
exactly.
man. Yep.
But it's not going to be because he's not going to want to strike me out.
That's true. You'll hit a home run every time.
Yeah.
People get tired of watching that.
I know. But okay, so there First heaven, first earth passed away. There is no longer any sea.
Yeah.
Now we get into the whole process.
Yeah, the new holy city.
I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. Okay, so
That's just beautiful.
it's incredible. So we get these different images all combined together. It's a city. It's a new Jerusalem. It's a bride adorned
From
for her
heaven.
husband. Yes, exactly. And so it's a city. Okay, city, and it's a temple, and it's a bride, and the bride is adorned.
Yeah.
So it's a city temple bride coming down. I mean, that really is kind of the way it's all put together, right?
Yeah.
So we'll find out kind of a little bit more about this. But what do you think is happening? What is he trying to kind of put out to us here?
It's a union.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I'm taking.
It is.
That's what I've always taken out
Making
of this.
one.
Is it's a union? It's a union, not only flesh and flesh with Christ, but also with community and the whole nine. It's everything is in harmony at this point.
Yes, and it also is people,
Yeah.
because the bride is the church, right?
Yeah.
The
That's
bride
right.
is the people of God, the believers. Okay, read Isaiah 52, 1 and 2.
52, 1 and 2.
Yeah, you'll like this.
Awake, awake, clothe yourselves in strength, O Zion. Clothe yourselves in your beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For the uncircumcised and the unclean will no longer come into you. Shake yourself from the dust. Rise up, O captive Jerusalem. Loose yourself from the chains around your neck, O captive daughter of Zion.
There you go, daughter of Zion. You get this whole image of make yourself ready. And we'll talk more about the unclean not coming into the city, all this stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so it's a picture of the believers. It's the people of God. It's the temple of God. It's the city of God. And it tells us in verse 3 that it's the dwelling place of God. Because it says, I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is among men. He will dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God himself will be among them.
Isn't that great?
That is amazing. Now, interesting thing about this, the root for this word is skenao. Skenao is actually when it says dwell, it's skenao, and that is the word tabernacle.
Yeah,
That's
behold,
exactly
the
right.
tabernacle of God is among them, and he will tabernacle among them.
That is exactly
Yeah.
right. Now, of course, we see the idea of tabernacle is found all the way through Exodus, because that's when the tabernacle was made.
Yeah.
It's in First Kings. It's in Leviticus. It's also in Ezekiel. And when Ezekiel talks about the dwelling place of God, it's in the Septuagint. It's the Greek word skenao, in various different versions of it. Okay, but then remember what in John 1, and the Word became flesh and skenao, tabernacled among us.
Yeah.
And so you can see that
So is it a verb in that sense, or not a noun?
it's an odd. You can make it a verb in Greek.
Okay.
We would only use the word tabernacle as but we use the same thing as we can turn the word tent into a verb. I tented this.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of concept.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So we could make up our own English word, tabernacled. Something you do. And so he will tabernacle or be a tabernacle among them. They shall be his people, and God himself will be among them.
And now this is the way it was in Eden.
That's exactly right. This is exactly what we're leading up to here. And when we get into more of the temple language, we'll see that that's exactly what John is seeing in his vision.
Okay.
Is a new Eden, perfected exactly like it's supposed to be. It has all of the components of Eden, but not with the chaos waters outside of it.
Yeah.
It's just plain Eden.
What do you think they did with the flaming swords after that?
Oh, they just put them away, right? Yeah, let's put them in their flaming sheaths. Yeah. Heck yeah. Now, here we go into more Isaiah language. He is like throwing the whole book of Isaiah in there. He shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will no longer be any death. There will no longer be any mourning or crying or pain. The first things have passed away. Let's get to some Isaiah. Get to Isaiah 25:8.
25:8.
And get to 51:11.
All right.
Isaiah 25:8. He will swallow up death for all time, and the Lord God will wipe away tears away from all faces, and he will remove the reproach of his people from all the earth, for the Lord has spoken.
Yes.
51:11.
Yep.
So the ransomed of the Lord will return and come with joyful shouting to Zion, and everlasting joy will be on their heads. They will obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and sighing will flee away.
That's it. And 35:10 says something very similar. The ransom of the Lord will return and come with joyful shouting to Zion with everlasting joy upon their heads, so on and so forth. But it comes kind of to the forefront in Isaiah 65. It says...
the demon in the boat will come.
Yeah, that's exactly that. You know what? I need to look and see what Mark verse that was, because...
I called myself looking.
Well, it's in here. It's in here somewhere.
Oh, the one I had said?
Yeah. But...
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and see what the reference was there.
Well, where did it go? It's in verse 1. Okay, never mind. I can find it here. Where is it? I thought I could.
I think I could tell you pretty quick.
Yeah,
It's Mark 5:18.
that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, as he was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon possessed was imploring him. Yeah.
But that's not the right one. So what? Maybe it's in my other.
Oh, I thought you meant the one that you had me read first.
Yeah, I want to find the right one. What is the right one? I want to, but I'm not seeing it here for some reason. Anyway, it's not important. Not important. So we are. He shall wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will no longer be any more death, no longer any mourning or crying or pain. Okay, there we go. For the old things have passed away. Passed away, that means they've died.
Yeah.
Okay. And just like Isaiah said in the other, we will remember them no more.
Now, that's always been an interesting thought to me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I wonder. And so there's no sorrow on the new earth, and remember no more. All right. So will we not know? Because inevitably all of us will probably have loved ones that we may not see. So, that's one of the things I've always wondered about. Like, how would you not, wouldn't you be a little sad? Like, if you didn't have one of your loved ones there, would you just, how would you know they're not there and not be sad?
That is a very good question.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think about when I think about that is that we will understand everything so perfectly that for some reason that will not be an issue.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Could somebody almost argue that might be like, they could say that, well, that just shows they keep getting more chances?
That there's a lot of language in this that would suggest that the universalists will use to say it's got to be this way.
Yeah.
And this is one of them, because it says no longer any mourning or crying or pain.
Yeah.
So
no gnashing of the teeth.
No, and you won't be sad about anything.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Mark 1:14 and 15? It
Maybe.
says, now after John had been taken into custody, Jesus came into Galilee, preaching the gospel of God and saying, the time is fulfilled and the kingdom of God is at hand. Repent, believe in the gospel.
Well, it was supposed to be something about heaven and earth passing away. So it might have been Matthew 5:18. But I'm not in the new heavens and new earth yet. I'm not perfect yet. So
that's right.
So there we go. Okay, so let's get to verse 5. We got 22 more verses after this.
Ooh, yeah, it's a long one.
It's a long one, yeah. But there's and a couple of the verses, just kind of go together.
Yeah.
So that's not that big a deal. Okay, so behold, I am making all things new. And what John is going to do here a number of times.
Okay, found it.
What?
Mark 13:31. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away.
Yeah, that's the one that Logan read.
Yeah, that's what.
But there's another one. There's another one. I don't remember where it is. So anyway, it's not a.
Okay,
you're gonna mess Pat up. He's just.
I know.
He's
it's gonna bother me.
Yeah, I know.
Don't ask Pat a question for the next little while, because he's going to be so zoned in.
I know. He's gonna have his head down there.
Yes.
And yeah. Maybe. Let's see. No, I'm not going to look for it.
Where's that Jeopardy music at?
I know. I'm not going to. I'm going to plow ahead.
Let's move
so
on.
what John is going to do a number of times is he's going to refer back to phrases that were and kind of pull them forward.
Yeah.
To make it final.
Gotcha.
And this is one of these cases right here. He says, "I'm making all things new," and he says, "Right, for these words are faithful and true." We've seen faithful and true in Revelation chapter 4. We saw it a couple of weeks ago in Revelation 19:9. And so he's just kind of putting an extra stamp on it. This is the faithful and true one,
Yeah.
And so he throws that in there just so we'll remember who's faithful and true. And then he said to me, "It is done. It is finished." Remember, it is done with the bowls. It was done with the trumpets. It's all done. And he says, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." Also from the very first chapter, remember.
Yeah.
But then he says this, and this is direct hyperlinks here. "I will give to the one who thirsts from the spring of the water of life without cost." Now we'll see the water of life come up in the last chapter. That's one of the first things it talks about, but he throws it in here right off the beginning because John's wanting us to think about, once again, connecting old and new and all these kinds of things. So read Isaiah 35:1, and you read Isaiah 55:1.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm going to read from Ezekiel.
All right, 35:1. "The wilderness and the desert will be glad, and the Arabah will rejoice and blossom like the crocus."
There you go. Keep Isaiah 55:1.
Ho!
I love this verse though.
Yeah. "Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without cost."
Yes.
That's my favorite kind of buying to do.
That's exactly right.
I liked it as Isaiah 35's title is Zion's Happy Future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so in Ezekiel's temple vision in chapter 47, he says, he's talking about the guy who's measuring, and he says he measured 1,000. It was a river that I could not ford, for the water had risen enough water to swim in, a river that could not be forded. So it's this giant, deep river.
Yeah.
And so he talks about the river for a while, and then he said, "By the river on its bank, on one side and the other, will grow all kinds of trees for food. Their leaves will not wither, their fruit will not fail. They will bear every month, because their water flows from the sanctuary, and their fruit will be for food, and their leaves for healing." We're going to see all of that imagery in 22. But he's not paying attention to the river itself, but the one who gives the river.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's really telegraphing whose voice he's hearing here.
Yeah.
Now, this is the cool verse in this little section, because it says, verse 7, "He who overcomes will inherit these things." Boom. This is why you persevered. This is why you overcome.
Yeah.
Because you inherit these things. Now, when you inherit something, do you have to do anything?
Nope.
No. Just pay an inheritance tax.
Yeah. In Babylon, you do. Yeah.
Yes.
But that's the cool thing about inheriting. You just have to be born.
Yeah.
I will
inherit.
be his God, and he will be my son.
Yeah.
Okay, so everywhere
My
else
son.
everywhere else in Revelation, and also in these Old Testament passages we've been looking at, I will be their God, and they will be my people.
Yeah.
It's a people. And this is different language here.
My son.
Yeah.
My offspring.
Yep.
My
And it's a capital
firstborn.
my.
Yeah.
It's the Almighty Son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. There's another interesting capital as we'll go here. I'll point it out. But
Let me see if I can catch it when we get there.
He who overcomes will inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. All of this belongs to you. All this stuff that's coming up is going to belong to you.
This is what Paul writes about us becoming co-heirs.
That's it. Absolutely. And children, adopted. Paul uses this language all the time.
Yep.
But verse 8, for the cowardly and unbelieving and abominable and murderers and immoral persons and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars.
Mm-hmm.
Just those people.
No fishermen are going to make it.
Dang, yep.
But here's the deal, though. If you think about this, how many of these on this list have I been a part of?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yep.
I mean,
Every one of them.
pretty sure I haven't murdered anybody, but I've been pretty abominable at times.
Yeah.
Certainly immoral. Don't
Probably murdered somebody in my mind.
Oh man,
This has always stuck out to me is the cowardly have always been the first people on this list.
Yeah.
And I really don't think that he means people that are scared of driving 90
well,
mile
let's
an
see what
hour
I
in
mean.
traffic.
So I'll use my fancy Bible software. It's Dilos, and the core of the meaning is faithless.
And that's what I think it means. Like, it's kind of like when Peter was, I don't know that man. I think that's the cowardly that is talking about.
Yeah.
And it is paired with the idea, the definition, timid. So you're too cowardly to step forward and embrace faith,
Right.
to repent, to turn around. You're afraid to come out of the Babylon that has been good to
And
you.
you know what's crazy is I've heard so many people tell me is that I'm scared to give my life to Christ. Not that it's not real, but what he would use me for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard a lot of
Yeah, it's
people
going to
say
send me to
that.
Africa to be a missionary.
Yeah.
That's right.
We need more missionaries than Africa needs right now.
Yeah.
Right here. Okay, so cowardly, unbelieving, apistos, that means without faith. They just refuse, And you can go down the list. He says their part will be in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
So that would argue against the universalists.
It would. Yes, it would. But we'll get back to the universalists in just a second. Okay, which is the second death. Although this honestly makes a very strong case for the annihilationism.
That's right.
Yeah.
They just poof. They're just gone. Okay. Then one of the seven angels, this is verse 9, who had the seven bowls full of the seven last plagues. So this is an important angel. Came and spoke with me, saying, "Come here. I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." Well, John's already, seeing the bride, the wife of the Lamb, but he's being taken to a special place. Where is this place?
I picture this lamb because this angel, because he's like, ha ha ha, just got the last bowl. Hey, by the way, let me show
come
you
on
this.
up here. Let me show you this cool
That's
thing.
done. Let's come
Well,
on.
but in the twinkling of an eye, it's
That's
like all
right.
this stuff is happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And he carried me away in the spirit. Now, this is not the first time that he has been carried away in the spirit. He got to the throne room in the spirit.
That's
he was
right.
in the spirit on the Lord's day when he saw the vision of Jesus that started this whole big mess. And a couple of different times he has been shown something in the spirit.
Yeah.
So this is what's happening here. He carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain. How many times have we talked about the significance of the mountain image? What is the mountain? The mountain is where heaven and earth overlap. Yeah, it's those thin spaces. Well, here we go. He's carrying me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain. He's putting me in that in-between space, that overlap space.
So with being carried away in the spirit to the great mountain, would this be the already not yet where heaven and earth meet?
This, yes. And what's happening here is the already of the earth and the not yet of the heaven overlap. And now John is taken there to watch the not yet become a reality.
Right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what he wants us to see in this image. Like, I got to see the whole
promise.
thing completed. So he showed me the holy city, Jerusalem. He names it by name now. The new Jerusalem coming down out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. So here we go again. It's a city, it's a mountain, it's a temple, it's a bride. It says her brilliance was like a very costly stone, as a stone of crystal clear jasper. Okay, so interesting thing about jasper. We have seen jasper somewhere before. Anybody remember where we saw jasper?
Without looking, I don't.
We've seen it as the Jasper Rainbow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it back
Around the throne?
Back in Revelation 4, says, where is it? Oh yeah. He who was sitting was like a jasper stone and a sardius in appearance. Jasper stone, it was the green color of peace, and the sardius was red color, like fire and purity, all that stuff. That's God. That's God. So her brilliance was like a reflection of the jasper of God, which is the peace side of God. So here you got the first reference to this precious stone. And here's where we get to the fun stuff. Okay. Oh, by the way, Isaiah 60:1-3 says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Behold, darkness will cover the earth, and deep darkness the peoples, but the Lord will rise upon you, and his glory will appear upon you. Nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your rising." That's a glorified Zion. That's part of Isaiah 60. Okay, so now it had a great and high wall.
This is where you'll need to start taking notes.
Lesson up.
Yep.
It had a great and high wall. Let's see what this little, with 12 gates.
It's a lot of gates to open.
12. And at the gates, 12 angels. And names were written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the sons of Israel. Okay. Interesting that the gates are named.
Yeah.
The 12 tribes of Israel. Any imagery come to mind there? I will tell you that, okay, so if you look at Ezekiel 48, 31-35. I can hover over it right here and read it. It says, shall be the gates of the city, named for the tribes of Israel, 3 gates toward the north, the gate of Reuben, 1, the gate of Judah, 1, the gate of Levi, 1. On the east side, 4,500 cubits shall be 3 gates, and it goes on to name those. And then 3 more gates and 3 more gates. The city shall be 18,000 cubits round about, and the name of that city from that day shall be The Lord is There.
Okay.
That's Ezekiel's kind of version of this. So you got 12 gates, 12 angels. Names are written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the sons of Israel. Now,
3 at each direction.
That's it. Now, just kind of hold on to that thought for a second, because the next verse really throws some light on the whole thing. So it says 13, 3 gates on the east, north, south, west. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like Ezekiel, which, helps us to interpret Ezekiel, honestly, that Ezekiel wasn't talking about that third temple in Israel, right? Okay. The wall of the city had 12 foundation stones, and on them were the 12 names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. So interesting imagery here. The gates are the tribes of Israel. The foundation stones are the apostles. So you get this idea that Israel ushered in, it was the gateway to Jesus and the whole reversal of the whole thing and the defeat of death and everything. But the apostles were the foundation of it. They carried the message of Christ. They took the ball from the tribes of Israel, and they moved it all forward.
And this is all flowing closer to the center.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're going to get to a few of the other images in a minute. But so we see the gates, we see the walls, we see the foundation stones.
Yeah.
Let's see if I got any hyperlinks in there. Yeah, it's just more Ezekiel 48 stuff. Interesting thing. Oh, yeah, I do need to go here. We see that was 14, yes. Okay, in Acts 1, we see that, obviously Judas would not be named as the foundation stone, right?
Well, that's what when it said 12, I was like, surely I don't mean Judas.
Yeah.
Paul got that job.
Yeah.
Acts 1:15 is the whole story of, he said, brethren, Peter stands up. The scripture had to be fulfilled, which the Holy Spirit foretold by the mouth of David concerning Judas, who became a guide to those who arrested Jesus, for he was counted among us and received his share in this ministry.
Yeah.
And so anyway, right after that is when they choose a new disciple, new apostle. And so you got a guy who didn't do any work that now gets some,
Gets to be one of the blocks.
yeah, no, he actually was part of their community.
Yeah.
In fact, they sort of narrowed it down to 2, and then they drew
Cast
straws.
lots,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which seems to me like a very ungodly way of doing something. But,
It's kind of like gambling in a way.
it kind of is, but it's like, why didn't they just spin the wheel? Here's the apostle wheel, and then they can, So here we go again with this measuring rod. Mm-hmm. The one who spoke with me had a gold measuring rod with which to measure the city and its gates and its wall. Mm-hmm. Okay. Once again, the measuring rod, it comes from Ezekiel 40 verse 3, and we already touched on that. But the measurements of the city were to produce awe of God's great promises and thus inspire repentance. So if you go to Ezekiel 43:10, it says, "As for you, son of man, describe the temple to the house of Israel, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and let them measure the plan." In other words, John's kind of describing this measuring rod as this is what everybody else missed out on.
Yeah.
It's so incredible. It's so glorious. And then he goes on to describe all of the attributes of this city, and to let us know how glorious it really is. So he says, I got that. Okay, he says the city is laid out as a square, and its length is as great as the width. And he measured the city with the rod 1,500 miles. Now he measures it in stadia.
It's 1,200 stadia.
12,000 stadia.
12,000.
Yeah, and its length and width and height are equal.
So it's a cube.
It is. Here's the question, though. How do you get a 1,500 mile high city?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an act of God.
Well, that's how you stack all the people in there, right?
Yes. Yeah. Man, so that's what the dude was saying. Like, that's how it worked. They're all stacked.
Something.
That sounds awful.
He had it worked out. I don't know how he had it worked out. But so 1,500 miles square covers about half of the area of the United States.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, like, from here to Utah, Vegas area, that's probably 1,200, 1,300 miles, ain't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be about right.
So, I mean, that's a big area, but to think, I mean, obviously, I hope that there's a large number of us in heaven, or on the new earth. I hope that this is not.
Well, and if some people are correct, everybody's going to be there.
Yeah, that's true. So,
I mean,
Shoulder to shoulder.
yeah.
I mean, I have seen some statistics that's like amazing how many people you can put in a small area.
How many people could you fit in that?
Like on one level?
No, total. Total thing.
I don't even know.
All right.
2.3 million.
Really?
It's got to be more than that.
idea.
It's got to be more than that. What is the measurements?
1,500 miles cubed.
1,500 miles cubed, and then 1,500 miles tall.
Yeah.
That's cubed.
Oh, got you. Okay,
Wide
1,500 miles
long,
cubed.
wide, and high.
How many people could fit?
Yeah.
I'm just curious if we could get a number. Because now that I'm thinking about the fact that this would be from here, I mean, literally like to the other side of the country, I'm like, that's pretty big.
What's the building code in heaven? Like, you have 10-foot ceilings?
It says you should be able to fit. Wow, no, is that right? Tightly packed, you could fit 73 trillion people.
That's what I said.
Tightly packed. Minimal comfort, 2.2 trillion. And a modest living space, 1.1 trillion.
So if everybody gets a mansion.
Yes. Yeah. Earth's population is 8 billion.
Yeah. So
that's pretty good area.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow. Yeah. But, we're not taking that literally.
Well, he measured the wall and it was 72 yards.
okay, we're gonna get to the wall in a second.
Now, that wouldn't be very big.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't think you could fit many folks 72 yards.
No, you could not. Okay, so here's kind of the clue that we get, because what we see in the Old Testament is the Holy of Holies inside the temple and the tabernacle was a cube.
Yeah.
Right.
It was long, wide, high, all that stuff. It was a cube. And so when he says it is as long as it is, and all that stuff. Hang on.
Is it a giant holy of holies?
Its length and width and height are equal. Yes, it is.
That's what I've always gathered from it.
It's interesting because it is enough. 1,500 square miles is about half of the area of the U.S.
Yeah.
But it also is almost exactly the area of their known world.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, gotcha.
So
again, context would play a good key part here. Yeah.
And so what we get here is a holy of holies that's global.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like everywhere is the holy of holies.
Yep.
The whole earth. Now,
even Arkansas.
Even Arkansas. Is exactly right. So if you think about the Holy of Holies was in the temple and the tabernacle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a cube. It was where the Lord dwelt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where you go. You go once a year into his presence, right? Mm-hmm. It was in the back room of the temple, concealed with a veil. And so what is being messaged here is what we saw a few verses earlier, which is this is where God will dwell with his people.
The tabernacle of God is among men, and he will tabernacle among them.
Everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like literally, it comes full circle with what Paul said. There's nowhere where you can escape his presence.
Yeah.
King David said, "There's nowhere you can go where
right.
God is not."
Yeah.
That comes to reality in this new city, and there are some other things like this wall, this 72-yard wall. Okay, so
yeah, that one's flabbergasted me now.
Yeah, so you got a huge 1,500-mile high city, and you got this little tiny 72-yard wall.
Is that the width? Maybe that's the thickness.
Could be the thickness, even then.
Well, it's according to human and angelic.
I was going to say, I like that the angels use the same measurement system.
Exactly.
Well, that lets us know,
it's
though,
not
that
metric, darn it.
That's right.
It's not.
See, that just proves that we are the ones that have to save this, Americans.
That's exactly right.
Because, yes, our measurement standards is what they use.
Yes, exactly. It's so interesting because then you have to ask the question, why does this city need walls?
right.
Yeah. Yeah, if all evil's been vanquished, what are you trying to keep out?
Yeah. It really is strictly to let you know that it's a city. It's just for decoration, really.
So that's not the firmament?
That's what I was kind of gathering,
Maybe
because it breaks down what the material of the wall is.
Yes. It's
and it sounds ornate.
Yeah.
It is very ornate.
Much like the tabernacle.
Yes, absolutely. And this is where we're going to start getting the throne room and the Eden language.
Yeah.
Okay. Eden comes much more into play in the last chapter. We'll see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be like so obvious. Okay. So according to,
So what are we capping this at? It's just it's just the world.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
God's new planet, his perfected planet.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. And see, he says 1,500 miles high. That means it stretches out into the cosmos.
Yes.
Out into the universe.
That's right.
So not only the
everything.
world is your oyster, so is the rest of the
Maybe I'm
universe.
going to like fly to the moon. And,
Good. Or wherever you wanted to go.
nice.
Why not?
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
it's all God's.
The sun.
Yeah.
Well, that's not 1,500.
You'll see that there is no sun.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, we'll get to that. Okay, so according to human measurements, which are also angelic measurements, that what we saw is it's a contrast between Babylon and the New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Worldly and heavenly come into one.
Yeah, but Babylon was just human measurements. Right. And then this is human and angelic, all joined together. Okay, so we're going to get into all of these precious stones and all that kind of thing. So we've got, let me get to down here to verse 17. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we got so important ancient cities always had walls. So John sees one. You know, he could have left them out.
Yeah.
But there has to be every ornate city, every glorious city has walls and gates.
Yeah.
And so
And these are grand gates.
and
or
we'll see that they're necessary for a particular reason. Okay, so the material of the wall was jasper. The city was pure gold. The city was pure gold, like clear glass, transparent gold. It wants to, John wants to tell us that it shines all by itself. Like the brilliance comes from within.
Right.
Okay. The foundation stones of the city wall. Now remember, those are the apostles, right?
Yep.
Were adorned with every kind of precious stone. Now, interesting here, because when we go back to Ezekiel's temple vision, we see all of these precious stones, and it's in the context of talking about a priest, the high priest. And so everybody's saying, oh, yeah, we know what he's doing here.
The ephod, right?
He's doing the breastplate thing. It is very interesting that the list here does not match the list there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, the list there does not match the list of the priests' precious stones. It does match this one.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it kind of tells us that we should not think of the priest in Ezekiel's temple, but we should be thinking about the new heaven and new earth in Ezekiel's temple.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because these commentators are very hesitant to go there. They say that the Septuagint of Ezekiel 28:13 lists a variety of precious stones, and that may inform Revelation 17:4, which is the woman clothed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold, all this stuff. But the use of 12 different precious stones, each signifying a tribe of Israel, is from Exodus. He just plain goes, it's the ephod, it's the breastplate, and the only problem is it just doesn't. He says John's list is roughly equivalent to the Hebrew one in Exodus, roughly. No, they don't jive.
Yeah.
Ezekiel's doesn't jive with Exodus. John's doesn't. Revelation doesn't jive. And so he says here, well, the image of Aaron's breastplate evokes the priestly city for divine worship. No, that's not at all what it's doing here. And so this is where we kind of start losing some of our commentary help right here. There is a significance to each of these precious stones, and we went over some of them in the chapter 4, the throne room, and chapter 5. Those. We know about jasper. We know about emerald. That's the emerald rainbow. We know about sardonyx. We know about sardius, the flaming red stone. And then you got chrysolite. You got beryl. You got topaz, chrysoprase, jacinth. Now, some of these are going to be different names from the ones that are in the Old Testament.
Right.
But, we could do a whole episode probably just tearing apart these precious stones. But suffice it to say, these foundation stones were adorned with every kind of precious stone, and it all means something. It has to do with priesthood, and just it's a contrast between Babylon and the precious stone. It's like everything all together.
Yeah.
Everything's becoming pure.
Yeah, and it's representative of the attributes of God. It's
right.
basically what we're coming down to, and it's a melding together of the old covenant, the new covenant, the tribes and the apostles, and everything.
Yeah,
and it's also very, very temple-like. So here we go. The 12 gates were 12 pearls, hence the pearly gates.
Yep.
Yeah. And so obviously St. Peter's standing outside the pearly gates, and he's, judging whether or not people should get in.
Yeah.
And no, that has nothing to do with it.
I was going to say, because that means Peter didn't even make it in.
Well, exactly. I mean, why is he standing at the front? He's
Right.
the bouncer, I guess. But it says the 12 pearls.
He's like, he gave him the Moses treatment. He's like, you can see it, but you can't enter.
When it says each one of the gates was
Yeah.
a single pearl, is that saying that it was one piece of pearl?
I've often wondered that.
Or are all the gates unified?
The funny thing is, it doesn't matter because they're never closed.
Right.
And so I don't know if it's a pearl split in half and then it's opened, or if the pearl is just, or if it's just the pearl around the gate. I'm just
Right.
It's really in this little commentary here. It says in one of the Second Temple documents, Tobit 13. The New Jerusalem streets are paved with precious stones, and its walls and towers are of pure gold. Some rabbis expounded that the New Jerusalem's gates would be made of giant pearls and precious stones. In one later story, a man who ridicules a rabbi's exposition about the pearls sinks to the bottom of the seas and sees the angels working on the gates of the new temple. Then it goes on. It goes on. The main source of these precious stone images is Isaiah 54, 11 and 12. He says, "O afflicted one, storm-tossed and not comforted, behold, I will set your stones in antimony, and your foundations I will lay in sapphires. Moreover, I will make your battlements of rubies, your gates of crystal, and your entire wall of precious stones," a wall of precious stones. So basically, we're getting this idea that it is opulent, it is majestic. It says, and the street of the city was pure gold. Now, we've always heard about the streets of gold. Well, apparently there's only one.
Yeah.
But really what we have here is kind of an image of, the Greek and Roman culture had their idea of what a well laid out city would be.
Yeah.
Well planned city would have the gates, would have it was always symmetrical, and it was always laid out on a grid. Even to this day, you can go to those places and you can generally always find your way around.
Yeah.
It's all laid out like that. And then there is a main street that goes right through it. It's not to say that there aren't other little streets along the way. But this was the great and grand street. And this is what we're going to kind of see in the next chapter as well. That there's a main street, and there's a river that goes alongside of it. There's trees of life and all this, the Eden language. But you get here, the 12 gates of 12 pearls. Each one of the gates is a single pearl. The street of the city is pure gold, again, like transparent glass.
Yeah.
So we got that far, and we see here in verse 22, very curious thing. We've been talking about temple language this whole time,
and they see no temple,
and there's no temple. What happened to the temple? Where is the temple? His readers could not have imagined a city without a temple. You can't have a great city without a temple. So they read that and go, wait. There's no temple. For the Lord God, the Almighty, and the Lamb are its temple.
So we're all the temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. God, the triune God, is the temple. We are components of the temple.
Yeah.
Remember the city is the bride.
Yep.
The bride is the temple. The temple is the city.
Unity.
Yeah. All of these things come together. So no temple there. Was verse
22.
And I'm gonna do Zechariah 14:21 real quick. This is kind of obscure, but it relates. You'll see. Every cooking pot in Jerusalem and in Judah will be holy to the Lord of hosts, and all who sacrifice will come and take of them and boil in them, and there will no longer be a Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts in that day. This is going to go to this next little bit. The city has no need of the sun or of the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God has illumined it, and its lamp is the Lamb. What did Jesus say? He said, I am
the light, the way,
the light of the world, right? Yep. Another thing.
So I won't travel to the sun.
You will not travel to the sun.
Well, the S-O-N, sun.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's no need for the sun or the moon. And really, you remember in creation, God put the sun and the moon and then put the stars in place to keep time.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of time. So this really says not only is it light just by itself, but there's no need for time. And I am very excited about this because this means I don't have to go to sleep.
Or wake up at any AM hour.
So we will not sleep.
Well, I imagine we will, honestly.
You think so?
But
because some people love to sleep.
Completely. I'm going to sleep for the first 1,000 years. Then I'm going to get up, and then I'm going to just see what everything has to offer. I mean, what's 1,000 years in eternity?
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's a blip.
I mean, I've said this so many times, but like my brain just still can't fathom it.
I know. But if you have a perfect body and it doesn't need to restore itself.
Right.
And you don't need to dream. Why would you need to dream? You're living in it.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah, it's just such a wild thought.
It is a crazy thought. So the glory of God has illumined it. Its lamp is the Lamb. The nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their glory into it. That is a weird verse.
Yeah, what are the kings of the earth?
And the nations. And here's It says, in the daytime, for there will be no night there. Its gates will never be closed.
Mm-hmm.
I got to read this next verse too, because they all go together. And they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it.
Yeah, what nations?
God's nation.
And where are they coming from to go in the gates if all the city is already, it's like super confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas?
That
Pat?
is.
The only thing I would think is just it's the going to and coming from language.
Yeah. Here's my best shot at it. Okay, so let's read a couple of scriptures. Read Jeremiah 3:17.
Okay.
Read Isaiah 66:12, and we'll have a few others in there.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
At that time, they will call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all the nations will be gathered to it. To Jerusalem for the name of the Lord, nor will they walk any more after the stubbornness of their evil heart.
Yes, Pat.
For thus says the Lord, behold, I extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the nations like an overflowing stream. And you will be nursed, and you will be carried on the hip and fondled on the knees.
Zephaniah 3:9 says, for then I will give to the peoples purified lips, that all of them may call on the name of the Lord to serve him shoulder to shoulder. In Isaiah 19:23, it says, in that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria. The Assyrians will come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians will worship with the Assyrians. In that day Israel will be the third party with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the earth, whom the Lord of hosts has blessed, saying, blessed is Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance. See, what we're doing is we're throwing all the nations into a blender and mixing them up.
Yeah.
And I think what he's really getting at here is this whole idea of the gathering of the nations. The nations that were scattered, given other gods to rule over them, little g gods, and the gods rebelled and demanded worship for themselves. And in the day of the Lord is the great gathering of all the nations.
That makes sense.
We saw people from every tribe and tongue and nation and people group and everything all worshiping around the throne. I think this is just another one of the pieces of the majesty and the glory of this.
From the Tower of Babel, we have the Tower of Jesus now.
That's it. It all comes. The nations will walk by its light. He's talking about the nations as in the non-Jews. You know? It's not like the nation's language that we were using in the Babylon times.
Right.
These are not the unbelievers. These are people, the people of God from all the nations.
Yeah, because there's no sea.
It's exactly right. And the kings of the earth. Now we talked about the kings of the earth who gathered together to make war against, but once again, you see that in this prophetic language here, they've been purified. They've been given a new way.
Yeah.
Now you could say that all of them have been given a new way. I mean, they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. Does that mean they'll take it back out again?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. So if they come in, like, are they here to stay?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
The weird thing, the weird kind of oddball thing there is its gates will never be closed.
Yeah.
I don't think that has any, if it's the whole world, and it's out into the cosmos, if that's the dwelling place of God and the gates are always open, does that mean, hey, aliens, come on in here. It's be great. No, I think it means that there's total safety.
Yeah.
And I kind of get this picture of a cosmic vacuum. Because in 27 it says, nothing unclean and no one who practices abomination or lying shall ever come into it.
Yes.
So it'll never be corrupted.
That's the idea of the last part of this. And when we look ahead into chapter 22, it's gonna start to really, he's talking about the basic components of this dwelling place of God.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got to remember it's not just one place. It is the place where God is, which is everywhere. There's going to be nothing off limits to God. There's going to be nothing, nobody's freedom of will to keep him out of certain spaces or to, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All that's being wiped away.
Chapter 22 is, I don't care who says what, man. It's very much a new Eden.
It absolutely is. and I like what this commentator says about verse 27 here. He says, outcast groups, i.e. prostitutes and others, sometimes lived outside city gates, but an Old Testament allusion is in view here. There will be no more abominations in the house of God. He goes back to that Zechariah 14 verse, or unbelievers in Jerusalem. Now, I like this verse too, Joel 3:17. Then you will know I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. So Jerusalem will be holy, and strangers will pass through it no more.
Yeah.
So, basically, we're getting this. It says the whole city is God's temple or dwelling place. God is the temple. There's the temple all around. The temple is the people, the bride, properly adorned. It has all of this brightness to it. It glows and is brilliant from the inside out. It's got all of the precious stones that are really in tribute to the tribes of Judah or tribes of Israel and the 12 apostles. Yeah. And then you think back also, he's drawing a lot of chapters 2 and 3 into this. Those who overcome, what does he say? You'll be a pillar in my temple.
That's right. That
means you won't be moved. There'll be no earthquakes and all this stuff.
That's right.
You'll have a name written on you. And then you're talking about the hidden manna and the white stone. You're talking about, that you'd be declared not guilty, and then we go back to, chapter 19, where we had the marriage supper of the Lamb and the giant feast and the meal with God and all of this, and then you go to Paul's language. Do you not know that we will rule the angels?
That's right.
It doesn't mean we're going to go like, hey, go give me that shovel.
Well, and then the way it finishes, it's even last chapter. It says whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. That's basically saying that the judgment will decide who's there.
And once it's been decided, then it's final. And once again, I think that you have to work really, really hard not to have repented by the time
you've had a lot of chances. Yeah.
Well, and you've seen a lot of things. Things have been exposed. It's like sometimes when we don't know how horrible something is until we see it up close.
Yeah,
that's right.
And when you see all this stuff, these judgments and all this stuff that's happening. And I think about, what's happening in our world right now, and I think, do people not see how terrible it is, really? How it's really just not supposed to be this way. And honestly, the people that least pay attention to it are the people who Babylon has been very good to them.
That's right.
They're doing fine, thank you.
Yeah.
They got everything they want, everything they need, everything's at their fingertips. And now we've got, all of this, man, I've been reading a lot of AI stuff lately.
Yeah.
And they're advertising all of this stuff. They say, and they're doing it in church world too. There's this whole AI for church leaders.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Website and Facebook page and all this stuff. And they're now marketing a product where it says, now you can be you more often. Like you can send out messages that are not you, but they're you.
So like it would respond how you would respond?
Yeah. It's good. You can have it learn you. And so then you can say, hey, send out 59 birthday messages to all these people and And
it'd be like, hey man, type it like you would.
It'll learn me all the time.
You can actually now they learn holographs. Have you seen this?
No.
There's a new one now where you go into this thing. Now this is like new. I saw Candace Owens was at a thing and they had her step in front of this camera and it recorded her. They were like, just tell us something brief. So she told them like, hey, I'm Candace Owens, yada, yada. She said like a couple sentences. They're like, all right, come watch this. And they had these machines and it pulled up her and she was in her same outfit and she started talking. She could ask it questions and it would answer as her and it sounded like her and it did her mannerisms and everything.
There you go.
And so, AI is getting insane.
So I'm not going to be at church this Sunday. But yet I will be at church.
Hologram Peter's coming at you. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll know exactly when to get cranked up and when to get irritated and holler. And
that's the crazy thing. It would.
I know.
Like that's how crazy this stuff is getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't spit real spit.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll have a little fan up there that'll kind of sprinkle a little water out.
I don't know. It's just so wild. And but to know, like there are legit times when I mean I know you guys do too. When you feel the pressure of that chaos water closing in,
yeah.
or you feel unsafe, or you feel like there's it's just an unclean world. It's not that I'm all that clean. In fact, there's times when I'm horrified at how unclean I can be.
Yeah.
It's like, man, when will we ever get over this stuff? Well,
Here.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
That's exactly right. It's just,
It continues what we've said again and again and again about this book, and that it is an encouraging book.
It is.
Because it's like, man, and I've heard people say it, and it might sound cheesy, but it's like, this is as bad as it's going to get.
This book, we talk about it a lot when judgment sounds horrible for the people who are unjust, but for the people who are following Jesus, this is incredibly encouraging.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to worry about all this other stuff that everyone's like, well, what about these people? What about these people? What about these people? Like Peter just said, you got to try really hard to not repent.
Yeah.
especially when you start to see stuff that is just completely out of bounds.
Well,
And for everyone watching too, that happens to people at different paces.
I think where some people that are saved get hung up and worried about Judgment Day is they and it was kind of opening just a couple chapters ago we talked about how it has been like the book has been cast away with our sins, and that's what there's a lot of believers that feel like that you're going to get there and they're not going to be forgotten, you're going to have to sit through the slideshow of your sins.
I'm so glad that we're going through this series right now, these epic meltdowns.
Yeah.
Because as believers, we have epic meltdowns.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it happens. Turn on TV today and put in big pastor or big church here episode. Like it happens. Like these things happen.
Well,
but that's not finality. It can be restored.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus had more than one meltdown.
Right.
Yeah.
A real human emotional meltdown. You had that where he was deeply grieved in the garden. He was sweating blood. That's a meltdown. I mean, he was incapacitated at that point.
Oh, then he kicked butt in the temple.
That's what I'm talking about. We're talking another meltdown. And what about get thee behind me, Satan?
Yes.
You brood of vipers.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Woe to you this and woe to you that. These kind of meltdowns are not always positive in the moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes they're very destructive. Sometimes you say words that you wish you could take back.
Yeah.
Sometimes it debilitates you to the point where you're immobilized for
That's
a while. There's just all kinds of ways it can manifest itself. But it like we said in this last week's, you don't have to be defined by your latest meltdown.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, if it's chronic, if you have rage issues, you need to go get
Maybe
that
Get
she
some
checked.
help.
gets,
Get some help.
Yeah, if you find yourself having epic meltdowns daily,
Yeah.
then it might be time to seek a little medical help. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's totally wonderful. And
Yes.
they can do things for you these days that are absolutely amazing. But
Yeah.
if you have an episodic event of a meltdown,
Yeah, if I wasn't medicated, y'all wouldn't like me.
Oh, dude, I Peter, you tripped me out. Sunday, you talked about kicking the stage.
I did.
At lunch, we were talking about the sermon, and I said, it made me think, back whenever I was about, I don't know, probably 16, 17, we were baling wheat straw, and we had this bale accumulator. It was a great thing. It stopped us from the old days having to chunk the hay bales up on the trailer. It was this little thing, and the bales you would drive, you pulled it behind a tractor, the bale would go into it, and it would put them in a pack of 8, and then you could pick it up with a front end loader. Well, it didn't do good in wheat straw. And I was in this big old tractor, and it would like grind and then pop into gear. It was tall. I'd have to climb down the stairs. And I bet I got off of this thing 150 times this day in the wheat field. And it was hot. And I went back there and I punched the accumulator. The accumulator is made of solid metal.
Break your hand?
Yeah, oh man, my hand was like pulsating like the rest, and I'm like, you idiot.
Big dumb dummy.
So yeah, the epic meltdowns tend to be a little painful.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and I guess that's what that got me interested in that question. It's like when we have a meltdown, does it make us become somebody we're not, or does it reveal
Who we
Yes,
really
who we are.
I know.
It revealed what an idiot I was.
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. It's the same thing. We're going to talk about, episodes of depression and despondence and, giving up hope. I mean, is that really who I am down deep? I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not.
Yeah.
I hope it's just, the circumstances just, pushing all the wrong buttons in me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that God just picks us up. It's like, if we get super angry at somebody and we blow up in their face, basically God will say, a good apology would do a lot of good right now.
Yes.
And then it just works that inside of us, and hopefully we grow out of it.
Yeah.
Well, don't you guys have an epic meltdown?
No.
We got one more week of Revelation.
Yep.
And then we don't know where we're going to go.
Oh, there's all kinds of different places we can go. But this has been an incredible ride.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all of you for coming on this journey with us. It's been very helpful.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Revelation now.
I am
yeah.
too.
And we'll get this last chapter in, and spoiler alert, it has a happy ending.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be some interesting stuff out of here, but basically he says at the end, if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God will take away his part from the tree of life and from the holy city which are written in this book.
And if you add to it,
Then you'll get added the plagues,
Yes.
the plagues which are written in this book.
so all of you people trying to add Russia,
Don't add to it, please.
Just don't do it.
No. And then don't skip the difficult parts either.
That's right.
Yes.
Don't take away.
But we do want you to add to those ratings and reviews
Yes,
that we got.
please.
We do.
Add to those and add to the comments below.
Uh-huh.
Let us know what you thought of this episode. I still want to know what bird you want on your shoulder when you're riding around.
Oh, yeah.
So comment all that to us below. And guys, we do definitely appreciate you coming along.
It's been great so far. One more left. And
Yep.
then we're on to other territory.
That's right.
See you next week for the finale.
See ya.